Hey everybody, I'm Scott Weichel. You're listening to My Kind of Country on MKOCRadio.com. As a musical connoisseur, I've always liked reading the album covers, and I'd like to find out who was playing on the albums, who was writing the songs, all that kind of behind the scenes stuff. And I've always found that the musicians and the singers that are behind the big stars are the ones that count the most because without them, you couldn't get that wonderful sound. You couldn't get those hit records. And the gentleman that's on my show tonight has played on literally thousands of those records. And I guarantee if you pick up a stack of your albums, you're going to find his name on a whole bunch of them. He's back with a brand new book, and it's called The Man in Back. And now he gets to step out front and tell his beautiful story. And I'm so glad he's here with us today to talk about some of those great stories. It's my honor to welcome one of the greatest in the business, Jimmy Capps, to My Kind of Country. Jimmy, how are you today?
I'm doing fine, Scott. How are you doing?
Fantastic. It's an honor to have you on the show and be able to talk to you.
Well, it's my honor, and I appreciate you having me.
Well, it's great to have you, man. It was sure nice to be able to meet you and Michelle last year at the Midnight Jamboree down there with Freddie and David. It was a wonderful night.
Yeah, that was a real treat for us, too.
Absolutely. I know he was real glad to see you. And you played on Easy Lovin', the original version of that, so that was pretty cool.
I did, and it was kind of a fluke thing, you know. Ray Eddington, a great acoustic player here in Nashville, and one that we all kind of patterned ourselves after. He wanted to go fishing. He was booked on the date, and he called me and he said, "Can you work a Freddie Hart album for me?" So I want to go fishing over in Virginia, and he said, "If you can sub for me, I would appreciate it." So I said, "Well, yeah, I wasn't working that night or that day. I can't remember day or night, but we did a whole album, you know." And Harold Bradley and I played acoustics on Easy Lovin', and that whole album. And actually, that was a little inside note. That was supposed to be Freddie's last album with Capitol. And I mean, his contract, he was fulfilling his contract, I guess. And anyhow, Easy Lovin' came out and was like monsters did, and the rest is history, you know. And then Capitol had to sign him back at his term. Not sure, you know. So, but anyhow, that's how I got on it. And then after that, Freddie was kind of superstitious, evidently, about changing players. So they booked another album later on, and I got called for it. And I said, "Hey, this is Ray Eddington's account, you know. He's the one that normally plays on Freddie's stuff." And they said, "No, Freddie wants the same guy that was on Easy Limit, but he doesn't want to change." So anyhow, that's how I wound up on several albums, you know.
That's great. Well, I got to tell you something, Jimmy. We went in last year, and David Frizzell produced Freddie's last album. It was called God Bless You. And we recut Easy Lovin', and you're the one he wanted to play guitar on that. So that never changed, and unfortunately we weren't able to get you. It just was a scheduling issue, and Eugene Moles actually ended up playing on that, so he did a great job on it too.
Well, Gene is a very good player.
He sure is.
Very good.
Good old Bakersfield sound, you know. He's great, no doubt about it. Well, I got to tell you, I've read your book, and one of the things that struck me as I read the entire book, there's nothing negative in there, and I absolutely think that is so refreshing. You know, there's no trashing stories, and you know, you had a great, you know, upbringing, and you've had a great life, and so many times you hear all these tragic stories and everything, and it was just refreshing to read something that uplifting for me.
Well, thank you. I've certainly been blessed several times over, you know. Sometimes I feel like I don't deserve it, but it happened, and I'm just very much humbled by it, you know.
Well, it's a wonderful book. I really like Scott England's style, and I've read the Mo Bandy book and the Ronnie McDowell book, so many of the books that he's been involved with, and it's a beautiful book, and I love that it's a great cover, and I love all the pictures in there. I mean, he really crammed a lot. There's got to be a couple hundred pictures in this book.
There is, and I have to hand it to Scott. he kept saying, we want more pictures. Pictures help sell the product, you know. And so we kept digging around and finding old pictures, you know, and then some newer pictures. And I have to give he and my wife, Michelle, credit for that. They're the ones that does do the tubs of pictures, you know.
Well, I like that. It's neat to be able to put faces with the stories that you read. You know, I'm the kind that as I go along, read the stories, and I'll kind of flip to the pictures and look at the pictures and think, okay, I know who that is. You know. Well, it had.
Well, go ahead.
It had to be a quite a trip down memory lane. Were there some things that, as you were writing the book, that kind of surprised you and that you'd kind of forgotten about?
Yeah, and we cried a lot, we laughed a lot, and you know, anytime I would start to tell a story that was talking about my mom and dad, or the Louvins even, you know, when I went to work with them and got to start playing on the opera, you know, some of them were real sad stories, you know, and it saddened me that my mom and dad both are gone, and so are both the Louvins that are gone, you know. So a big part of my life has been wiped out because of that, you know. And that is just life, so we can't complain very much.
Absolutely. Well, I'm so glad that you did this book, and I'm sure it was very therapeutic for you. But getting all this history down to me is priceless, and to be able to hear these, you know, read these stories and hear about these stories, are things that I'll treasure from the rest of my life, no doubt about it.
Well, thank you.
Well, folks, the book is available at jimmycapsbook.com, and you can also call 615-804-0361. And I believe the book is also available at the Ernest Tubb record stores. And make sure you get a copy of this. It's a very intriguing read and very easy read. I just couldn't put it down, and that's that's not fluff. I really did enjoy every page of this book. And Jimmy, I absolutely love the as you go through your story and everything, you have so many great people that took time to write a little something in there, and I was glad that Freddie was able to do that for you too.
Oh man, I do appreciate that. The artists that I had worked with, and some of them I'm still working with, they took time out of their busy schedule to write really nice things, and I hope they didn't stretch the truth too much. Well, I just appreciate them so much. But that's Nashville for you. All the artists and the musicians here, it's kind of like a big old family. Everyone respects the other, and for the most part, And so I'm just blessed to be in the city and be able to work at something I love. I'm just so blessed, that's the bottom line.
Absolutely. It's a wonderful thing to we've all got to work, we've all got to earn a living, and when you're blessed to immerse yourself in music that you love and be able to make a living at that, and it's a great thing. And I think at least for myself, and I'm sure you'll probably agree with me, the best thing about all of it is the wonderful people that you get to meet and get to work with and get to know.
Absolutely, and you stay friends for life. They can slow down, and some of them get out of the business. But then when you meet on the street or meet in a restaurant somewhere, it's just like an old friendship renewed. It's just it's a great city and great people in our business here.
Absolutely. I absolutely love every time I get to come down there and meet people, and you're right, absolutely great people down there. Well, Jimmy, I want to ask about a few things in your book. You mentioned the Louvin Brothers, and that's really that was your big break, and that was kind of your dream job, wasn't it, at that time?
It was. Yeah. When I was a teenager, I would hear the Louvins, and at that time they only sang gospel music. And but Chet was playing on all those records. Chet Atkins. Chet is enough. If I say Chet, everybody knows who we're talking about.
That's right.
But anyhow, he was playing on all those records, and I thought that was some of the greatest harmony singing I'd ever heard. But also, I thought that his guitar sound was the most beautiful sound I'd ever heard out of a guitar, you know. And I just couldn't wait for the next record to come out. So it was a dream of mine to someday be able to work with them. And then when I got the call, I jumped at it. We didn't make a lot of money. Sometimes I probably made as much money as they did, you know. But you know, I was working with a group that I loved, you know, and they treated me as good as I could be treated, you know, because they were good guys, and they're the reason I'm here today, you know. So
Sure.
Can't say enough good about the Louvins. They were and are the best to this day, I think. And nothing against other duets, but their sound was so unique and so true. It was just true.
You know, there's something about family harmony. There's a special bond that you get in there. I don't think you can get that with anything else, you know.
That's true, and they just. I've always heard that if it's family harmony, the vibratos match.
Yeah.
The Louvins hardly had any vibrato in their voices. It was just nailed to the wall. You know, it was so good, and their harmony singing was so unique. They would switch parts. Like one would be singing the tenor, and all of a sudden, if I was singing the tenor, the high singer, you know. And all of a sudden, Charlie would be singing the low tenor. And to me, and all they had to do was just look at each other and change. and that, to me, that's what made their harmony so different, you know.
Absolutely. You know, I think one of the things that has giving you such longevity and recognition in this business is you're a guitar player that pays attention to singers and to vocals. And so many times when you hear guitarists, you know, it's all about the guitar. And you are so tasteful, and you pay attention, and you try to make those people singing sound the very best they can. And I think that's a testament to the you know, the stellar career you've had.
Well, I've always had this thought in my mind. If it wasn't for the middle mic up front, where the artist stands and sings and plays, we would have no purpose. You know, musicians would have very little purpose to be in there. You know, they're the people that sell the ticket. Those people that do the singing on the middle mic up front. And that's why I call myself the man in back, you know, because that's where I've always been. That's where I like to be. And I do listen to the lyrics and try to play something that would complement the lyrics. Otherwise, you're getting in the way, you know, and taking away from the record. So that's the way I've always thought, and I hope it was the right way.
Oh, I think so too. I certainly picked up on that as I was reading the book. You know, you told so many great stories about recording sessions and working with certain artists, and in great detail. And a person that's there just to play the guitar is, you know, you wouldn't remember all that stuff if you didn't care about all that other stuff. And certainly, you've done a lot of producing yourself. I know you produced Mo Bandy's last album, stellar album called Lucky Me. And you've done some other great work, and you've also worked, you know, of course, with Owen Bradley and Billy Sherrill, and you know, those great producers.
Mhm. Yeah, I was very blessed to work with Billy Sherrill, Owen not as much as Billy Sherrill, and Billy Sherrill not as much as a producer named Larry Butler. Larry really gave me a lot of work, and he would use myself and Ray Edmonton and play two acoustics, you know. And then he would stack us maybe a couple of times. So there would wind up maybe 4 or 6 acoustics on those records. The Kenny Rogers stuff, the Billy Joe Spears stuff, the Dottie West and Kenny Rogers duets, and the Dottie West solo stuff. And then Larry produced Andy Williams. He produced John Denver. Had big old records on him. Some days are diamond, some days are cold. It's just Larry Butler was a great producer. I get sad every time I think of his name because he passed away way too young, and but we don't have any control over that. So
That's for sure. But you know what? The music lives on. We'll always have it, no doubt about it.
absolutely, absolutely.
Well, folks, we are talking to Jimmy Capps today. It's jimmycapsbook.com. His brand new book with Scott England is called The Man in Black. In Back. I'm going to say black. I knew I was going to do it. I knew it.
Well, we did. We kind of ripped that title off from Johnny Cash, but I'm sure maybe he would approve of it. I hope so.
He would, and I'm not going to edit that because I knew I'd do it, so I'm just going to let that go out there, folks. I said it, but the book is called The Man in Back. That's the name of the book.
Yeah.
JimmyCapsBook.com, and you can also call 615-804-0361, and I encourage you to pick up this wonderful book, and you can get an autographed copy from Jimmy at his website as well. And Jimmy, you've played on so many just monster standard hits. The best song of all time, in my opinion, He Stopped Loving Her Today. Tammy Wynette, Stand By Your Man, The Gambler, Kenny Rogers, Conway Twitty the Rose, and of course we talked about Easy Lovin', Freddie Hart. Is there someone in your career that you never had a chance to work with that you always wish that you did?
I always wished I could have worked with Elvis. When I hear the guys talk about working with him, it was just kind of a unique situation always. And I always wanted to, I wish I could say that, but I never got to work with him. And that was one artist that I saw him in person one time over close to my hometown. We had a group I was working with over there opened the show. And Elvis was on the show, but it was before he became very popular. I mean, he had a couple of records. I forget what they were, but they were getting some airplay, and Colonel Tom at that time was managing and booking Hank Snow. So Hank Snow was the closing act. Well, when Hank Snow closed the show, the curtain went down, and then the local announcer came out and said, "Folks, we have one more act that's going to come out and perform." I was sitting with my girlfriend in the audience, and we were filing out of the auditorium and said, "Anyone that wants to come back in and listen to this act can." Well, it was Elvis.
Oh, wow.
It was Elvis and Scotty and Bill Black. That was before DJ Fontana, the drummer. And so it was just three pieces, And the next day in the paper, you see headlines that says Elvis Presley's field show. Well, that's some quick thinking on Colonel Tom, I thought,
It sure is. It sure is.
Have us filing out, and then he's introduced, well, as he started up, people started sitting back down, and so about half the audience, the best I remember, stayed to hear Elvis, and he tore the place up. And I always wished that I could have at least done one album with him,
Yeah. Well, that's got to be about the only one you never recorded with, I think. Man.
Well, there's a bunch that I didn't record with, and a lot of them I wish I could have, but Don Williams is the one that I really respect very much, and I respected his work so much, and I thought the feel of his records I just thought was tremendous,
Yeah.
And the songs were just absolutely great. And I wish I could have recorded with him a little bit, but he cut some great records without me for sure, So.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. One thing you didn't discuss in your book, and I'm kind of curious, not that it really matters, but I've always been curious, do you play any other instruments besides guitar?
I play a little mandolin, a little banjo, but not enough to even mention. You know, I've got a five-string. I own a five-string banjo. Let me put it like that, and I own a mandolin, but I probably should. So, but I played some mandolin on Waylon, some of Waylon's records, and some of his last albums, you know. And I played some mandolin on it. He called me up and asked me did I play mandolin. I said, well, yeah, sure I do. So I went and bought me a mandolin and a Mel Bay book and tried to learn how to play within about 3 days. Yeah. But anyhow, I play bass a little bit, you know, but electric bass, not upright. Mm-hmm. Don't have the strength in my hands to do that. It takes a real man to play upright bass.
Hey, man, you know, the upright bass seems to have made a really big comeback here in the last few years. I see a lot of artists that are using them on the road, and I love the sound of a upright bass.
Oh, me too. To me, that is what country music. Country music should have upright bass in it.
Yeah.
I just have always believed that, you know, that's what makes it sound unique and perfect. It's that upright bass in there. And Billy Linneman, I don't know if you know that name or not, but he's played on some big old hit records. Is anybody going to San Antonio? All the Johnny Pride stuff, just about he played on.
Oh yeah.
And several other things, you know, that were big hits. And but he plays a really great upright bass, and I miss him so much. He got an illness that they had to take off both his legs, so he hasn't played in quite a while, and I sure do miss him.
Oh,
One of my best friends.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, that's a shame, but I'll tell you what. Again, musical legacy left behind, you know, great stuff. And speaking of bass players, some of the things I loved in the book were you telling about some of the practical jokes that you all did, and I just had to laugh, even at the Opry. But I got to ask you, Lightning Chance and the chocolate coat. I think that was my favorite story in the book.
That's a true story, and I'm saddened to say I was the only one in the dressing room at the time. I wish there had been some other witnesses, because some people think I'm making it up, but it's an absolute true story about the chocolate on the coat. At least he thought it was chocolate. It was not even near chocolate, so...
Well, folks, you got to read that in the book. I guarantee that's worth the price of admission right there.
Yeah, we can't talk about that, but if they buy the book, they can find out the true story.
You'll find it. There's no doubt about it. And I was very touched with the you talked about the toolkit that you gave Merle Travis, and that he had kept it for all those years.
Yeah, kept it for probably 10, 15 years, and you know, I'm no telling how much longer, you know, but I think I told in the book that I went to Grandpa Jones and asked Grandpa, because I knew they were real close friends. I said, I drew, it was Christmas time, and I said, we drew names on this television show, and I said, Travis is on it. I said, and I drew his name. I said, what can you buy, man? It's got everything, you know. And Grandpa said, screwdrivers. I'm a screwdriver. He loves screwdrivers. He said he can't go in a hardware store without buying a screwdriver. I said, okay, I'm going to buy him a screwdriver. So I did. Bought him a little screwdriver that he could adjust his pickup and his guitar with, you know. About 10 or 15 years later, at least 10 years, for sure, maybe 15, I was walking down the hall at the Opera House, and he hollered at me, because he was going to be on the matinee that day, and he hollered at me and said, hey, Jimmy, come in here. And he opens his guitar case and opens the pocket in it, and he pulls out this little screwdriver, and he said, still got it. And you talk about getting words like that from one of your heroes, you know. That touches your heart. If it don't, you're cold-hearted, you know.
Absolutely. I thought that was a great story. And the Chet Atkins pencil story was another funny one too.
Yeah. Well, I got to buy the book to get it. The
Absolutely.
Mitchell story is good, though. I love that.
So many great stories in here. So many great tributes. Jimmy Fortune's beautiful forward that he wrote. I think the world of Jimmy Fortune. He came in and sang the tenor part on Easy Lovin', and that we recut that with Freddie last year too.
What a singer, man! What a
Man,
singer!
no doubt
And
about it.
he's doing a new album right now, and I think I'm going to get to play on it. He told me so anyhow. So
Well,
I'm
good.
hoping.
Good. I'll look forward to that. Jimmy's been on my show a few times, and he's one of my favorite people to talk to. I think the world of him. He's good people.
He's solid gold. He is just he's amazing. He
Absolutely.
never changes. He never changes. Treats everyone the same, you know.
Absolutely. Well, Jimmy, I want to congratulate you too. You've been on the Grand Ole Opry now for 60 years. I was watching the show on there that they did with you celebrating that. I want to congratulate you for that, and also Jimmy Capps Day in North Carolina. I think that's just a great thing. Of course, that's where you're from, and so well deserved.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I'm honored and very humbled by it. You know, there's nothing else can humble you down any quicker than your hometown doing something for you. You know, and I'm just very much touched by that. And the Opry doing what they did. I mean, that's, to me, I think that's the first time they've ever done that for a musician. And anyhow, I'm just so honored by it, you know.
Well, you are a testament of what real country music is all about, and so many people back it up. And I was just touched to not only read your wonderful story, but so many great things that people had to say. You know, there were kind things, things that brought tears to your eyes, and things that just made you laugh out loud. And I think I read your book as usually at the end of the night. I like to read before I go to bed, and I don't know how many times I woke my wife up because I laughed right out loud.
Well, I thank you so much for being kind about the book and being so complimentary about the book. And a lot of that credit goes to Scott England and Michelle for putting it together. You know, of course, Scott absolutely did the most part, and all I did was talk into a recorder and break down. I pulled apart a Vince Gill and cried about every third story, so... But Vince is famous for being touched by different things, but he'll cry at the drop of a hat. So, but it's always true blue crying. It's not phony.
Well, that's a real
I hope
person.
That's the way I am.
Well, I know you are without a doubt, and I know we haven't even scratched the surface, and I hope sometime we can sit down again. I'd love to have you back on and talk about some more stories, and it's just a delight to have you on the show. And folks, again, I want to remind you, please go to jimmycapsbook.com and get this wonderful book called The Man in Back. It's just an absolutely stellar book, and all kudos to you and Scott England. I think the world of Scott too, and his work, and Michelle, and I thank them for getting us in touch today. And I'm going to play a whole bunch of songs, and every one of these folks are slam bang great country songs, and Jimmy Capps is on every single one of them. So it's no problem to fill up a show with beautiful songs that Jimmy Capps has been on. Jimmy, thank you so much for taking time to be on My Kind of Country.
Thank you, Scott, for interviewing me. It means so much, for guys like you to talk to musicians. Sometimes not just me for sure, but sometimes a musician is the last man to be mentioned. And that's kind of not fair. Because no matter how big or how small our part is in the music, it's got to be there, or it won't sound the same.
Absolutely. To me, you are legends too. I've always felt that way, and as I said at the beginning of the interview, I've always been very interested to know who was playing on albums, and who was singing on them, and who wrote the songs, and through my years, I was got blessed to be close to Merle Haggard and get to know him and all the Strangers. And I've had 11 members of the Strangers that are still with us on my shows and talked to them. You know, Norm Hamlet and Biff Adam, and it's just wonderful to talk to them and hear their stories. And they were just as much a part of that sound as Merle Haggard was. You know.
Oh gosh, man, the Strangers, man, made those records. Especially Roy Nichols, man, his guitar player. I thought he was the Merle Haggard sound, you know.
Oh, absolutely.
And I'm sure Merle had a lot of suggestions, but boy, Roy Nichols could play. He was a great guitar player.
Yes, he was.
And Norm was a great steel player too.
Yeah.
And he is.
And still is. Yeah. Yeah, he's still phenomenal. Absolutely. And I saw the Opry performance that Merle did there just not long before he passed away, and he called out to you, and you mentioned that in your book too, and I thought that was a pretty cool thing too.
Yeah, he was always very kind to me. I don't know why, but he his son, what's his son's name? The baby boy.
Ben. Benny.
Ben.
Yep.
Ben. Yeah. I went over after they had played, you know, and Merle had already gone to the bus. I said, Ben, man, you do such a great job. I said, you take Roy Nichols and then put your own stuff with it. You know, you play so great behind your dad. And he said, oh, thank you. And we went through all that, you know. And then he said, did you get to talk to Dad? I said, no. I said, he must have been tired. He went to the bus. He said, well, come on, go with me. We're going to the bus. I know he'd want to talk to you. So I went out, and Michelle did it. And I think Michelle and I and Connie Smith were all on the bus at the same time. And Haggard was just very super nice, you know.
Yeah.
And it wasn't very long before he passed away, you know, like you said. But what a legend. What a legend. Those songs he wrote and his style of singing, boy, just, I'm not sure anyone will ever match up to it. He was a great singer and a great songwriter, I thought, you know, and me and millions of others, you know, but
Amen.
But
Me too.
I loved his singing and I loved his songwriting.
Me too. Well, Jimmy, thanks again for being on the show, and I hope we can do it again sometime. I'd love to sit and visit with you some more, and if you have time, I'd love to have you back on.
All right. Well, I hope I didn't get too long-winded.
Oh, I love it, man. This is what it's all about for me, getting to get in depth, and I appreciate you. I know you're busy, and thanks for taking the time. And folks, please visit jimmycapsbook.com. Get this great book, The Man in Back. We'll have that information on our Facebook page as well. And we're going to play a bunch of great songs with Jimmy playing on them, and just enjoy this great music. Jimmy, thanks again for being on My Kind of Country.
Thank you, Scott.